Fantastic. So we've now got the next three folks who've come along for category number 3, which is cybersecurity. Now, here are a few interesting points about cybercrime and cybersecurity. Cybercrime damage will reach a cost of $6 trillion by 2021. Now, this is really interesting. When I read this particular one, I thought I need all of my kids to be really aware of this. There's a severe shortage of professionals within the cybersecurity industry. Now, who out there works in cybersecurity? Looks like there's not enough. I only see 1 or 2 hands out there. So the number of vacant job openings in the cybersecurity market will reach 1.5 million worldwide. It doesn't actually say what day or what year, but I think that's been really interesting. 2/3, last little point of information for you, since everybody's ready, 2/3 of large businesses have been hit by a cyber attack in the last year. Who's been hit by a cyber attack, at least personally? I have. All right, there we go. So now we are welcoming our 3 countries. We've got James Varga, Heidi Raquels, and Rahul Power. Okay, and first of all, I'm going to let James Varga take the stage. We're going to get his screen up. It looks like it's ready to go.
Ready?
Off you go.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. So as said, my name is James Varga, and I'm the CEO and founder of the ID Co. Today I wanted to talk to you about Direct ID. Direct ID is our business product that leverages the identity and data we already have with our bank to prove people are who they say they are, to leverage the data that we have within our financial profiles for a better experience, right? So if you think about PSD2, following PSD2 into open bank data, that's a lot of what we do there. We leverage that identity and data from someone's bank account to prove they are who they say they are, both consumers and businesses. And the reason why we do that is because we live in this convenience world, right? We live in a world where consumers demand convenience over almost everything they do. And a good friend of mine gave me this first stat a few months ago, that 71% of millennials would rather go to the dentist than open a bank account, right? And I don't know about you, I'm not a big fan of the dentist. So, there's a pain here. There's a pain around customer experiences. Again, about a month ago, I was South by Southwest, and we did a little survey during that time with SureID and some of the people on the panel. And again, even in that educated audience that was talking about these sorts of issues, 83% would still rather convenience over safety and security. So as a security company ourselves, we find this pretty amazing, right? This challenge to provide greater levels of trust online and still offer that convenience. But when we do combine the two, then we can create some pretty incredible experiences. So if we can take a customer onboarding process for a loan, from a marketplace lender like Prosper, and we can take those days, an offline process, and make that seconds and purely online, then consumers walk away very happy from that, right? We can achieve a greater level of security and better benefit to the consumer and the business. If we start to look at cybersecurity and fraud, then we can also see that translate really quickly. So eMoney Union is a company in London providing online mortgages, so peer-to-peer type mortgages. When they put in bank verification as part of their onboarding process, they saw a 75% reduction in application fraud, to the point where within a couple months, they weren't letting anybody through the process without going through that bank verification. It's pretty incredible. I mean, it's not 2 or 3%, but what we're talking about here is a 75% reduction in fraud. And the list goes on, credit risk assessment accuracy, leveraging live financial data directly from the bank account. Again, think of PSD2 and everything that's now being recognized there is incredible, right? Because as it says, bank statements don't lie. If I wanted to prove my affordability, the best thing for me to do is come along with my bank statement, like we've done in the industry for 20 years already, or 50 years, and digitally share that with a company so they can get to know me as quickly as possible and as well as my existing bank. Obviously, more and more fintech is global, so I won't even touch on that, but this whole need to do more things online more globally. And it's all about providing a sort of rounded customer onboarding journey, right? Financial services is very complex in nature. We have KYC and AML, ID and V, CDD. The acronyms are incredible. But when you break it down, it's about proving people are who they say they are and understanding them well enough so that you can give them a product ideally appropriate to them and not just a postcode or a generalization, but something appropriate to them that doesn't rely on negative data from bureaus and credit reference agencies, that's live and living and breathing. So if we can take those sorts of new sources of trust and data and leverage them to reduce the fraud, to minimize the time it takes to go through that, create a great user experience and mitigate the risk, and empower the business, especially the lender, we get a completely different user experience. And cybersecurity is very high on the list. I mean, we're talking about it just now. The industry is talking about it more and more. We're almost at a crisis here. There was 768 million last year in the UK for fraud. A big proponent of that is online. And fundamentally, a big proponent of that is the use of your name, address, and date of birth. It's using traditional sources of data to try and prove we are who we say we are. And almost everybody in here could probably find my name, address, and date of birth within an hour, right? So asking people for that doesn't solve the problem. We have to move on. We have to look for different sources of trust. And the one that we get so excited about is banks. Banks are built on trust. That's what they do. So Direct ID as a platform leverages both for consumers and for businesses. Bank verification is what we focus on, but as a platform, we also include document authentication and bureau checks and those other things where available. And we do that to provide that business service. As a product, it's got an API, it's got a widget, it's got all those bells and whistles that everybody would look for. But more and more, we're focusing on the data insights and the analytics. So looking at that financial profile data, looking at the behavior of people, identifying someone's income and their expenses, automating that affordability check so that it can be done in seconds, not days or hours or manually, right? We do that over 32 countries. We connect to about 5,000 banks. PSD2 and open bank APIs are great for us because they just open up more and more sources of data. Over the last 2 years with Direct ID, we launched it 2 years ago, we've signed up 35, 40 customers, some great names, people like Prosper and Marlet in the US, Amigo Loans and that sort of thing in the UK. So really starting to get into the industry and under the skin of some of these use cases, really understanding where that fit for us is, which has been fantastic, and the impact that we see out in the industry is huge. But don't trust us. We actually have a hosted platform that you can use yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's now over to our first woman of the day who's presenting. And it is over to you, Heidi. Take it away.
Thank you very much. So I'm Heidi, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of GuardSquare. Who has an Android phone here? Okay, great. Well, did you know that many apps on your phone are protected with our open source software? And several apps, more sensitive ones, are protected with our commercial software. Our own company only exists 3 years, and we have already hundreds of customers all over the world, including banks, bank card companies, and companies that have mobile payment apps. Why are all these large companies buying our software? Well, they all have mobile apps, but those mobile apps are very easy to attack. For example, a bank. Once they upload their banking app to a store like Google Play Store, they lose all the control over the app. Everybody can download the app. A hacker can download the app, reverse engineer it in only 2 minutes, extract sensitive information, or have a look at the vulnerabilities and exploit them, or create a clone and insert malware in that clone. So we call these the static attacks. A real end user can also download the app, but his device might be compromised with malware that will attack the app while it's running on the device. We call these the dynamic attacks. So once you upload your app, you can't control anything anymore and you can't trust anything anymore. But we offer a solution for that. We make those apps self-defending, and we do that by adding multiple layers of sophisticated protections around that app. And every layer is not only protecting the app, it's also protecting the other security layers. We have the best solution in the market for Android, and we released our solution for iOS last year. Why do we have the best solution in the market? Well, our solution offers the highest number of protection layers, and we make sure that every protection layer is of the highest quality. What is also important is that we offer a combination of protection against dynamic attacks with protection against static attacks. Most of the companies only focus on protection against dynamic attacks, but these protections are easily removed if your app is not protected against static attacks from hackers. We have another important asset. Usually people don't like security because it makes applications more difficult to use. It makes applications slower. Well, not with our solution. We don't change the usability, and we make those apps smaller and faster by implementing several optimization techniques. And we have another important asset. Maybe our biggest asset is that we are the owner of a very successful open source software, ProGuard, which is distributed by Google and has been used by millions of developers. So companies that create a mobile app first optimize and protect their app with our open source solution. But when it's a sensitive app, after a while they see, well, it doesn't offer enough protection, enough security. So they come to us and they upgrade to our commercial product, which is very easy because they are compatible. Many companies are doing that already. Now, the most interesting part of my pitch, what are currently the European banking apps doing with their protection? Well, we did a test a few months ago, and we found out that a few apps were not protected. Most of the apps, 75%, were using our open source software to protect their mobile apps. Well, that's a good start, but to be honest, our open source software doesn't offer enough security or protection for mobile banking apps. But fortunately, we see that many banks are coming to us to upgrade to our commercial solution, and we found already several apps that were protected by our commercial software. We were also surprised to see that only very few apps were protected by competitors. Let's provide some more information about our company. We set up our company 3 years ago. We have 2 offices, one in the United States in San Francisco and one in Belgium. We sell our software to more than 60 countries, and we have a fast-growing team of 26 people. The other co-founder, Eric LeFortune, is our CTO, and he's the creator of our open source project, and he's very famous in the Android world for that. Our CFO is Jurgen Hingels. He was the founder of Clear2Pay, a very successful fintech company which he sold to FIS 2 years ago for $400 million. Roel Kaers, who was managing director of Unit 4 in the Benelux, has come to our company and brings a lot of experience in sales and marketing. Our company is growing very fast. Last year, we sold licenses, recurring licenses, for more than 3 million euros, 3.3 million euros. And this year, we are on track to do more than 6 million euros. And what is also important about our company, we are cash flow positive and profitable. But we might raise some money in the coming months because we are looking to acquire small technology companies with complementary technology. What are our plans? Well, we have a fantastic basic product, but we are adding new security modules around that basic product. And we're also started to secure the Internet of Things. We have already a solution for Android things, and more platforms will follow. So patiently and persistently, we are becoming one of the most important security companies in the mobile security companies in the world, especially in the fintech world. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, please come to me after the pitches. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Okay, and now it's time for our last contestant in this particular space. Please do welcome Rahul Power, and he's from OnDemark. It's over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Rahul Pawar, CEO and founder of OnDemark, and we're a cybersecurity email company. So we've all heard about how important cybersecurity is. Just a quick poll. How many people are excited about cybersecurity in the audience? Hey, we got one person at least. Hey, a few. Well, it's one of those things that's really, really important, as we always heard, but it's really hard to make it relevant. It sounds very abstract. It sounds like something that matters to other people. So let's try and make this very real. We've all probably seen this. Here's an email from one large Spanish bank telling me that they've made a deposit to my patio decorator. Given the weather, that would seem kind of timely, but the reality is I haven't done this, and they're asking me to log in somewhere and share my details and cancel the transaction. In a panic, I go off and do that. But the reality is they never sent me this email. I sent me this email. And I sent me this email using the command line and a tool that was invented in 1969. So how can this actually happen? Is it really this simple to try and impersonate someone online or in email, a system that we use and trust so much? So no passwords were stolen, no hacks, nothing interesting has happened here. I've just fired up my terminal and pretended to be someone else online. 91% of cyber attacks start with email impersonation. So this is a very, very important vector, yet is something that most people have left completely open. Just to make it really real, and I do apologize for doing this, I took our very generous hosts, Innovate Finance, and sent me an invoice with some bank details that I need to transfer to. And the reason why this ended up in priority inbox is because none of these people have DMARC. 90% of exhibitors and people listed today do not have DMARC in this room. So this is relevant very much to you. So what is DMARC and why does this matter to me? So it's an opt-in mechanism for certifying email senders. So this basically means I am telling the world who is actually allowed to send email from my from my domain. Every email provider out there supports it, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, whatever you happen to be on, it is supported. HMRC is the poster child for deploying DMARC. They blocked 300 million phishing emails with DMARC. They adopted it last year. It's a proven solution to stop email impersonation online. And how does it actually work? Because it sounds sort of kind of magical at this point in time. It's actually very simple. So you send an email right now, and the recipient servers receive that email from you. Unfortunately, though, an unauthorized sender can do exactly the same thing, and the recipient server doesn't have very much signal to go on that this is not actually a legitimate sender. Once you enable DMARC, they start sending reports that tell you who is legitimate and who is illegitimate to your DMARC provider so that you can start classifying these various types of emails. And once you have enough reporting and you're confident in your installation, you can turn on rejection, which basically tells every receiving server to stop accepting emails from people who are not you, which sounds very simple, but is actually very complex to do. So why is DMARC hard? Well, so the National Cybersecurity Center in the UK has said that widespread adoption of the DMARC protocol is essential to defend against targeted cyber threats. Yet, if you look at government adoption of DMARC right now, it is about 1%. If you look at the people in this room, it's a little bit better because financial services do adopt DMARC a little bit better than most of the other sectors, but it's still hovering around 7%. That leaves most of the people, by a vast majority, with no DMARC protection at all. The problem is the real world strikes back. It's complex to implement DMARC because real world systems are quite complex. Real mail systems are full of legacy systems. Real organizations use many services to send email on their behalf, and you need continuous reporting or your legitimate email will actually get blocked, which is usually a really big deal for most organizations. So how does OnDMARC make this easy? We can figure out and monitor your services so you don't have to. We essentially provide exception reporting on top of DMARC that converts all of the technology that's happening behind the scenes into clear, simple, actionable insights. So you can very simply turn on DMARC for your domain, start getting reports immediately, telling you what's valid, telling you what's not valid, giving your IT team and your InfoSec team actions that they can go away and do to make your DMARC configuration valid. Now, we use AI to do this rather than consultants. So we can do this very quickly, and we can do this very cost-effectively for many sizes of businesses. We've taken all of that AI and we've converted it into a bot. So if your technology teams are happier using Slack to manage their infrastructure, or perhaps they have a dashboard where they want API integration and all that other good stuff, we provide all of those technology solutions so you can basically set it and forget it and concentrate on what is really important for your business. There is no impact to you. It uses the same tools that you use today to actually use and send email. When correctly deployed, there is zero impact to the end users. There are no privacy implications, and there's no impact to speed and deliverability of your properly configured email. There's no need to be a cybersecurity expert to make it work. Now, there are probably a few marketers in the room, and one of the great things about DMARC is it can really help your deliverability too. We've seen deliverability in some of our customers jump from like the low 20s to the high 90s simply because of correctly configuring all of their email infrastructure via DMARC. In fact, Google recommends that it is enabled. So in summary, you can check your domain and get started today with on DMARC. We're a cloud SaaS solution. We can self-serve, or if you want very sophisticated functionality that we do provide, you can talk to us and we can tailor a package for you on top of our platform. Think of DMARC as a sort of seatbelt for your organization. If you're using email today, which I'm sure most of you are in some capacity to do meaningful work and generate meaningful ROI for your business, don't use it without DMARC. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Thanks, Rahul. Okay, it's over to our judges to ask a question to each of the presenters. Who would like to kick off with a question for James? Yeah, Rumi.
Thank you. James, could you be a little bit more specific with your technology? So how is it that you do what you do better than others?
So I think the first part of the answer is we've been doing it for a long time. So over the last 5 years, we've put a lot of effort into understanding the value behind a bank-verified identity and the live financial data, so the bank statement data that you can get from a bank. Just now we use a combination of screen scraping and account aggregation to create coverage to access those accounts, but with PSD2 and open bank APIs coming to the forefront, we're now swapping those out into direct access into the banks.
Great. And a question for Heidi.
Hey Heidi, enjoyed your presentation. Can I ask you, in terms of moving from the open source to the commercial platform, what's the process for that? Do customers come looking for you? Do you get enough data from Google, for example, as a distributor to pitch?
Yes.
How's that work?
I'm sorry. So currently, 90% of our sales the last years is coming inbound sales. So just companies, they are using our open source software and they know that the protection is not enough. They send an email to us. Some small companies we answer by email. Sometimes we do a phone call. With the largest companies, like the banks, we do a proof of concept sometimes, and then they upgrade to our commercial product. Now we also start to do direct sales because we see that there's a lot of not enough knowledge in the market. So people, they even don't know that their app is not well protected. So that's what we started to do now with more marketing and direct emailing to people.
And finally, a question for Rahul.
So can you talk a little bit about are you the DMARC, or you're the analytics layer on top of it? And how complicated is it to integrate it into a large financial services system?
Yeah, sure. So DMARC is actually an open standard, so it's ratified by the IETF. So it's essentially anyone can build a solution on top of it. So as we have built a solution on top of the DMARC standard, it's actually very simple. It relies on DNS, which is sort of the distributed domain lookup infrastructure, to actually deploy it. And once it's deployed, that reporting ends up coming to our cloud SaaS. So from a deployment point of view, there's really no complexity. You essentially need the portion of the organization that's responsible for your DNS. They can effectively, from that point, self-serve, get onto the system and start receiving reporting. When you're in reporting mode, there's actually no impact to your operational system at all. And there's no PII that sort of goes across boundaries. So from a regulatory point of view, it's actually very, very straightforward also to deploy, because DMARC was designed to be very simple to deploy and very safe from that perspective. And then, of course, as you go to full rejection mode, that journey can have some implications about when you choose to do that. But our tool makes it really simple to go through that flow with you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's give these guys a huge round of applause. So I'm going to get you guys to stay on stage while we do the voting. So stay where you are. And just to remind you all, has everybody got their phone at the ready? Usually we're asked to put the phones away, but this is a time when we want you to have your phones out and ready to vote. And just to remind you, we've got James Varga, Heidi Raquels, and Rahul Power. So if we are ready to start the voting, you can start now. That's it. 10 seconds goes so quickly. Well, thank you guys very, very much. I really appreciate your time, and we'll allow you to leave the stage. Well done. One more round of applause. They've been great.